What's going on, people? LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes. Welcome back to another edition of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collect All Monsters. And let me begin this video by issuing all of you an apology. Yes, I owe y'all an apology. Because if you saw my last video of the Voto Kaiju Deluxe Model Kit of the awesome Mechanicon, I teased at the very end of that video that the next video, which will be this video right now, I will be covering one of two gigantic size pieces that I was able to acquire in my collection recently, but I didn't tell you who they were. I gave you strong teases, but I didn't tell you who they were. Of course, one villain was going to be about, at least one video was going to be about a villain that attacked Japan in 1975, and the other one was going to be about a villain that attacked Japan in 2001. And trust me, those videos are coming. They're coming sooner than you think. But we're going to take a detour from 1975 and 2001 and go towards the year of 1992. And I never thought I'd hear myself say that. But we're going towards 1992 in this video. So you're going to click the title, you know exactly who we're covering here in this awesome review. So let's dive head first into this awesome X-Plus 25cm review. And today we'll take a look at the X-Plus 25cm standard edition of the 1992 Godzilla from its appearance from the fourth Heisei Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. Mothra. Not Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth. We're not going to talk about that title. That title sucks. It's an abomination. It is horrendous, and I'm not going to refer to that film by that title. Truth be told, y'all already know, if you're familiar with me and familiar with the channel, y'all already know that me and the 1992 film, this film, we don't have the best relationship, to put it mildly. I'm going to come right out and say it. This is one of my least favorite Godzilla films of all time, and especially one of my least favorite from the Heisei series. But I've always said, just because you may not like a certain film, or a film may not be high on your list, doesn't mean that you should deny yourself quality pieces or collectibles from that film. And this is an awesome quality collectible, you know what I'm saying? Now again, early on, I talked about that again. I was going to cover either a gigantic size villain from 1975 or 2001 in this video. But I decided to pivot and do this video because honestly, even though I didn't have high hopes for this figure really has impressed me. It really has impressed me. But I'll talk more about that momentarily. But again, you know how we do things right here. So let's get up close and personal with the packaging before we get into the awesome figure of Godzilla from 1992. And here's a picture of the box with the picture of Godzilla in the front. Looks absolutely great. His Japanese text of his name down at the bottom. Godzilla 1992. Of course, the logo of the film, Godzilla vs. Mothra. Not Godzilla and Mothra, Battle for Earth. You know, on the box, you know, whatever. Looks really, really good. You know, typical, you know, when it comes to X-Plus boxes sometimes, you know, normally they do the brown box with the silhouette of the figure, akin to the Gigantic Series boxes and some other boxes, you know, whatever. But the artwork on the box looks really, really good. So that's it with the packaging. And it's not about the packaging, it's about the figure. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the X-Plus 25 centimeter 1992 standard edition of Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Mothra. And here's the backstory of how we got this figure in our hands. This figure was first showcased at the Summer Wonder Festival show back last year in 2022. And of course, that show was noteworthy for a few things. First and foremost, it was the first time we saw unpainted prototype pictures of the awesome X-Plus Gigantic Series Monsterverse Kong that came out earlier this year for the Monsterverse. That was an awesome figure. They also showcased pictures of the Favorite Sculptors line 1974 30 centimeter Mecha Godzilla, and again, like Kong, that figure came out earlier this year in 2023. And they also show unpainted prototype pictures of this guy right here, the 1992 Godzilla in a 25 centimeter scale. And you know what? The timing of that announcement was actually very appropriate and very timely, because last year marked the 30th anniversary of the film of Godzilla vs. Mothra. And sometimes X-Plus do things like that. Sometimes they bring out figures of monsters that are celebrating milestone birthdays or anniversaries. Sometimes they may not come right out and say it, but sometimes they do that to coincide with a certain monster's birthday or anniversary. Like case in point, they did that in 2018, late 2018, when they brought out pretty much every single 25 centimeter figure of a monster that appeared in 1968's Destroy All Monsters in an epic figure set. You know what I'm saying? Every monster, all the 11 monsters from 1968's Destroy All Monsters, they brought out in an awesome Rick exclusive set. So they have done things like that. That's what I'm talking about. They have done things like that where, again, they bring out certain figures of monsters celebrating a birthday or anniversary. And the 92 here is no different, even though they didn't come right out and say it. But I have to be honest here. I have to be honest. Because the last time we got a figure or a monster from this film from 1992, it was actually the X-Plus 25 centimeter Mothra 1992, the adult version. And I want to say that came out in 2021. Yeah, it came out in 2021, and that was the last figure that we got for like a monster from this film. Now, they have done a 30 centimeter Batra larva, which in my opinion is one of the best Heisei figures of all time that X-Plus has ever done, even though it was taken from a model kit. They've done a couple of Godzillas, you know. They've done a 30 centimeter that came out way back in the day. They've done the Sakai 92, quite frankly. But honestly, the monster that I wanted them to do next after Mothra came out in 2021, I wanted them to do not Godzilla, but I wanted them to do a 25 centimeter flying version of Batra. Because like I said, the 30 centimeter longer form of Batra is awesome. So I was hoping and praying that they would not do Godzilla as the next monster, but they would do the 25 centimeter flying version of Batra to go up against Mothra, you know what I'm saying? And I'll take it a step further. If it were up to me, I would have released Batra, but I would have gave the Rick option to him either light up on the figure, on the monster, because there were times in the film where Batra did have some light ups on his body or whatever, or I would have gave him a 25 centimeter mini version of the Mothra larva from 1992, because I don't see X-Plus bringing out a standalone version of that Mothra larva, quite frankly. So I would just kill two birds with one stone and just gave us a 25 centimeter Mothra larva to go up, you know, to coincide with Batra here, you know what I'm saying? That pretty much that way, pretty much every single monster would have been represented in the film in some way, shape, or form. But again, even though I didn't hate this release that the 25 centimeter 92 Godzilla was coming out, I wasn't really going gaga for it. In fact, when I first saw the unpainted prototype pictures of the figure, I wasn't really sold on it. I was like, you know, it is what it is. I was like, meh on it, you know, whatever. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't something that I was going to go after personally, quite frankly. But it came up for pre-order of this year in June of 2023, and we saw basically full painted pictures of what the figure was going to look like. And let me just tell you, when I saw those pictures, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get that. I want to get that after seeing those really awesome, pristine pictures of the figure fully painted, you know what I'm saying? The sculpt looked great, you know what I'm saying? The paint added more detail to the sculpt, even though I wasn't really feeling the sculpt at first when I saw it unpainted. But I'm glad I was able to turn around and on this and change my mind about this figure, because when I pulled this out the box recently, 'cause I just got it yesterday at the time of this recording, when I pulled it out the box, I was so amazed. I was so amazed. And I will say this right now, in my opinion, this probably will go down as one of the best looking or best made Heisei figures of Godzilla himself that X-Plus has ever done. And that's high praise right there, in my opinion. Because when you think about some of the best X-Plus figures of the Heisei Godzilla that X-Plus has ever done, the one that jump out to me, because I would definitely put this in like in the top 5, the ones that jump out to me are, of course, the X-Plus Gigantic Series 1989 Godzilla. Oh, God. That figure is so amazing. Every time I look at it, I'm like, wow, I can't believe that thing exists, but it does. The X Plus Gigantic Series 1995 Godzilla, where you have the original, or you have the most recent one that came out with the clear patches, or if you have the one that came out with the frost paint scheme on it, whatever. That figure is so amazing. I think it's one of the best X Plus figures of the Heisei Godzilla that they have ever done. You can add him onto the list. Let's see, the Sakai 91, whether you have the original version, the Shinjuku version, or the most recent version or whatever. Again, an epic piece, an epic version of the Heisei Godzilla. Got to add him onto the list. Or how about the Sakai 84? Woo! Oh my God. Does that need any type of introduction or explanation? Oh my God, that thing is so amazing. And you know what? I would argue that this one can be alongside with them. Now, it may not trump the gigantic 89 or the 95 or any of the other ones that I mentioned, but he's definitely in the conversation on one of the best figures of the Heisei Godzilla that X Plus has ever done. But again, that's high praise right there. And that's why, again, I had to pivot when it came to my video schedule. You know what I'm saying? Because once I saw this, I was like, you know what? I got to cut a video and get it out there. Kind of, there's some people that they're kind of iffy on this figure, quite frankly. But, and trust me, I was in your same shoes. I was in the same camp as you. I was iffy about this figure. I'm not going to blame y'all for being iffy. But let me just tell you, after seeing it in person and having it here in person, it is amazing. So if you can find one for a good price, jump on it right now. Because again, it just started getting into people's hands early September of 2023. You know what I'm saying? And that is the backstory of how I got this figure. Again, it is amazing. I really do love it. So let's get up close and personal with this guy. Again, this is the X Plus 25 centimeter 92 Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Mothra. And again, the sculpt looks absolutely great. That's one thing. That's the one thing I really enjoy about this sculpt. Because Godzilla, he's rolling upwards. He's rearing backwards with his claws up. His head is back. You know what I'm saying? Which is actually pretty accurate to the film. Because again, he faced two flying opponents in that film. So him looking upwards in this sculpt is actually reminiscent of the film. Quite frankly, again, more of a reason why they should have done a 25 centimeter Batra. You know what I'm saying? At least by now we should have gotten one. You know what I'm saying? Because the Mothra was absolutely great when it came out in 2021. So it's a shame that we have not gotten Batra yet. But I would venture to say that he will be the next monster to come for this film. He should, especially go up against Mothra and his Godzilla right here. But you know, you have seen the Heisei Godzilla from X Plus many times before. Really nothing different here in terms of what they have done to the figure. You know what I'm saying? With the tree bark light skin, you know, dark charcoal gray, almost blackish if you will, because the Heisei Godzilla was more so blackish. You know what I'm saying? So the sculpt of Godzilla is absolutely great. The toenails are sculpted really well. The claws in his hands sculpted really well. The dorsal plates, each individual dorsal plate looks absolutely great. The bigger ones on his back as well as the small ones going towards the base of his tail, towards the tip of his tail, looks absolutely great. You know what I'm saying? And again, this sculpt is really, again, in my opinion, is really super accurate. In my opinion, it probably can pass for a Sakai if you didn't know any better. But when you look at the sculpt, especially Godzilla's body, this was the transitional period in the Heisei series. Because coming off the heels of the 91 Godzilla, which in my opinion is the absolute best look that Godzilla have ever had in the Heisei period. But still, you see variations of the 91 and some variations of future Godzillas, like the 93, 94, 95, you know, whatever. Especially right here in the chest. Now, the chest is not as big and buffed up and chiseled as it was in the 91, and I might as well say the 89, right? But you can still see variations in, like, you know, the thickness of the chest. Again, it's not as thick as a 91, but still, it is there somewhat. Going towards his lower body, his thighs. Now, they won't be the big, thick, pork chop, thick thighs that he would have from 93 to 95, you know, whatever. Again, like I said, this was a transitional suit, if you really think about it when it comes to the look of Godzilla. Where in 89 and 91, he was really, really proportionate. You know what I'm saying? The proportions was really equal on his body. You know what I'm saying? Good sized head, buffed up chest. Again, I've always said that the 89/91 Godzilla kind of reminds me of a Brock Lesnar version of Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? Whereas the later half of the Heisei series, you know what I'm saying, the upper body shrunk, but the lower body got thicker. This was at a point where it didn't happen just yet, so it's kind of perfect. It's kind of mixture of both worlds, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying? So the lower body looks really, really good. You know, the thighs look really, really good. Not too thick. You know what I'm saying? Really looks just right, like it was on the suit. You know what I'm saying? Again, dorsal plates, like I said, look absolutely great. Now let's go towards the face and towards the head. That was really sold me, aside from the sculpt here. But the face looks absolutely great. Look at the eyes, where the eyes are colored really well. You know what I'm saying? There's some plastic on it where it gives up like a sheen to it, but it still looks great. The individually sculpted teeth on both the rows of Godzilla, lower jaw, upper jaw, excuse me. You know, the double rows of teeth, you know, it's kind of dirty when it comes to the paint scheme of the teeth. The interior of the mouth looks really, really good, you know, whatever. Just the overall look of the face, the sculpt of the face, looks really good and looks reminiscent of the 92 Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? So sculpt-wise, it looks really, really good. And again, you know what? Let's talk about the tail right fast for a little bit. I actually like how the tail is sculpted here, where it's going really upwards and going outwards a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not the typical Godzilla tail pose where it's going upwards and going down. You know what I'm saying? Where the tail is going outwards towards the lower half of his body. Here it's going upwards, because there were times where the Heisei Godzilla would throw his tail upwards. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that the Heisei Godzilla really had a long tail. Some people think that Shin Godzilla is the only monster, at least the only Godzilla design that had a long tail. Actually, the Heisei Godzilla had a long tail. We saw it in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah a couple times. You know, we saw it here in 92, you know, whatever. So there are times where if you find the right scenes, you can see that Godzilla's tail in the Heisei period was really, really long, quite frankly. And I love how, you know, they gave it such a different pose. I mean, we've seen it a few times before with other Godzilla figures, you know, whatever. But I actually like that when they take the departure from the standard tail pose of Godzilla and they do it here where he's going upwards, where the tail is basically almost like the same height as the figure itself. I actually like that, and it's actually more shelf friendly because, again, his tail's not sticking outwards where you gotta, you know, place figures around it or you can't place it up against a wall. Right here, again, it's more shelf friendly. So the tail is absolutely phenomenal. But again, sculpt-wise, it is absolutely great. Paint job-wise, again, it's typical. Like I said, treat bark, you know, not treat bark, but dark charcoal gray, almost a blackish color on the skin, dirty bone white color on the teeth, the claws, the toes, the dorsal plates. You know, the eyes, again, the eyes are colored really well. You know what I'm saying? The interior of the mouth is colored really well. Just from top to bottom, this thing is absolutely great. In my opinion, I think a lot of people have slept on this figure, but trust me, if you slept on this figure, wake up. Come on, wake up. Wake up, because this thing is absolutely great. Now, I'm not going to say this thing is probably going to win Figure of the Year when it comes to X+. I think this year in 2023, I think the one that will probably take that spot will be the Favorite Sculptors line Destroyer. I think that will be the one that will take the Figure of the Year. But I'm sure the Monster of the Attitude Crew will cover that towards the tail end of the year, or maybe early next year, in the beginning of next year. But if I had to guess right now, I would say Destroyer will probably win, in my opinion. But when you look back on this year, you know what I'm saying, this was really a good release, a solid release. Especially at first where I didn't think it was going to be a solid release. And again, I wish they would have done Batra instead. But I still love it nonetheless. And I've come around on this figure. So if it has done that for me, I'm sure it would do that for you. So please do not sleep on this figure. You will enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of this version of Godzilla, or if you're a fan of the 92 movie. I'm sure there are fans of this movie out there. I'm sure they exist. I'm not one of them, but I'm sure they're out there and they exist. So if you're a fan of the movie or the fan of the Godzilla itself, again, you owe it to yourself to go after this piece. Again, in my opinion, I think this is better than the Sakai. I think it's better than the old school 30cm version. So basically, in my opinion, this is the absolute best version of the 92 Godzilla that X+ has ever done. And I think that's high praise right there. You know what I'm saying? So if you can find one for a good price, go after it. Now, when I was on Hobby Search a couple days ago, they were sold out. Like, a lot of people snatched this figure up, quite frankly. But you never know. You may find one out there on eBay or Madarake, excuse me, or maybe Awesome Collector. He may have an extra one out there, you know, whatever. But if you slept on this release and you really want a quality 92 Godzilla in your collection, courtesy of X+, jump on live right now and get this guy. You will not be disappointed. This thing is so great. This thing is so amazing. You know what? So let's do a couple size comparisons. Now, I know in the last video with Mechanic Kong, I know I kind of killed y'all with the size comparisons. I'm sorry. I was having too much fun there. But I got two size comparisons planned for this video. And actually, again, there were a couple of reasons why I changed my mind on this figure. First and foremost, like I said, when I saw the pictures of the figure fully painted when it dropped for pre-order, that was one reason. But there was another reason why I wanted to get this guy. And you know what? It kind of ties into the first size comparison. So you know what? Let's stop procrastinating. Let's go into the first size comparisons, and you understand one of the other reasons why I had to get this awesome figure of the X-Plus 25cm 92 Godzilla. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the first size comparison, and I know exactly what y'all thinking. I know exactly what y'all thinking. But I'll explain myself momentarily. You know, we'll get there. But let's do the proper introduction, shall we? Of course, the man of the hour. In the middle, the X-Plus 25cm standard edition of the 1992 Godzilla. He is flanked by other X-Plus 25cm figures. Of course, the Rick exclusive set of both Space Godzilla and Little Godzilla from their appearance from 1994's Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. And I think this is a cool comparison, or a cool shot right here. Now, again, I already know that this suit did not fight Space Godzilla in 1994, but it still is a variation of the suit, quite frankly. And as I mentioned earlier, this is, again, like a transitional suit, where it has qualities of the 91 and the 89, but it also will sport some features that we will see in the future Heisei Godzilla designs moving forward. Again, with the upper body, or at least the chest, kind of shrinking, and his lower body, for like his thighs got thicker, you know, whatever. But I think this is still a great shot when it comes to this Godzilla up against Space Godzilla. And this is one of the main reasons why I had to get this figure, more so than him up against the 25cm Mothra 92, which you'll see in the next size comparisons. But I mainly got it for Space Godzilla. And the reason for that is, for some strange reason, I know Gojira 851 and Brutezilla, you know what I'm saying, they're best friends of mine, and we have like a private chat on Facebook that we talk pretty much every day with each other. And one of the things they're vocal about is the fact that X-Plus has not produced any collectibles of Godzilla himself from 1994. Which is a shame, because they have pretty much done every single monster with the exception of Mothra from that film. As you can see here, they've done the 25cm Space Godzilla and Little Godzilla. And I think that came out in 2018. That same year, 2018, they brought out the 30cm Mothra 94. Even Mothra got a figure before Godzilla himself. That's sad. I'm sorry, but that's sad. Or how about 10 years ago? 10 years ago, they brought out the original 30cm Space Godzilla. Right? 10 years this year, they brought that figure out. So Space Godzilla, Mothra, Little Godzilla, oh my god, Mothra's sad, but still, they produced every single monster in a collectible form outside of Mothra, but they have not done Godzilla yet. And I think that's a shame. Maybe they'll correct that in the future, but until that happens, the 92 will provide a great stand-in. So again, that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get this guy, quite frankly. And as you can see here, he looks great up against Space Godzilla. Now, if you do have this 25cm Space Godzilla and you want to get this 92 Godzilla because of this comparison shot right here, just know that, yes, they do pair well with each other. But even though Space Godzilla is a little bit shorter than he should be in comparison to Godzilla, but he still looks great. But for like Little Godzilla, he scales perfectly with the 92 right here. But this is, again, it's an option on your hands. If you don't have the Mothra 92, or you don't have the 30cm Batra Larva 92, you know, whatever. So if you got Space Godzilla and or Little Godzilla, you got yourself an optional setup on your hands. And this is awesome. Yes, yes, yes. So that's it with the first size comparison, you know what I'm saying? This is so great. So let's go to the final size comparison and bring up monsters that actually appeared with this Godzilla in the film of Godzilla vs. Mothra, with the X-Plus 25cm Mothra, adult Mothra, and a 30cm Batra Larva in the final size comparison. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the final size comparison, and yes, around the X-Plus 25cm standard edition of the 1992 Godzilla, I have his two other monstrous opponents from that film. Of course, on the left, we have the 25cm standard edition of Mothra 1992. And to the right, we have the 30cm Batra Larva Standard Edition. Of course, all these figures from X-Plus. And of course, I had to get the movie in the shot right there in the far left-hand corner. Hey, better appreciate it, because it's not often that I show this film some love or some recognition or some attention, so you better appreciate it. This is a cool shot between all three major monsters from the film. And honestly, I have to be honest here, even though Godzilla does look great up against both Batra and Mothra, in my opinion, even though, again, this is 25 centimeter scale, obviously the scale with the 25 centimeter Mothra, but Godzilla is way smaller than he should be in comparison to what we saw in the film, quite frankly. Now, again, because Batra is in the 30 centimeter scale, you know, that's a given, quite frankly. Even though I'm about to go into this in a few seconds, but I think there are times where you can mesh 25 centimeters with 30 centimeter figures to create size accurate setups from the film. But Godzilla and Batra is not one of them, unfortunately. And honestly, I have to say that Godzilla up against Mothra, in my opinion, isn't accurate either, even though both these figures are in the 25 centimeter scale. They're in the same scale. However, I do believe that the 30 centimeter 1992 Godzilla, which looks really good for its time, and even when you pair him up against the 25 centimeter here, you know what I'm saying, they do look good, but obviously the 25 centimeter is, in my opinion, better. It's better painted, it's better sculpted. Again, the 30 centimeter was a cool figure for its time, but again, a lot of people don't really like that figure because some people think that it's off in certain respects. It kind of looks kind of wonky in comparison to the suit in the film, which is understandable, and I kind of agree with that too. Even though I do love that figure, but clearly between the two, the 25 centimeter is the better option when it comes to probably accurate 92s outside of the Sakai, right? Even though I do find the 25 centimeter better than the Sakai 92. But as far as like Mothra is concerned, I think the 30 centimeter 92 Godzilla pairs better with Mothra, because remember, in the film, now if this was a Showa period, I'll probably say yes, this would actually work, because again, in the Showa period, Godzilla was 50 meters tall and Mothra was pretty much twice as big. In the Heisei series, however, Godzilla has ballooned to 100 meters tall. So he is twice as big as he was in the Showa period. And when you see Mothra and Godzilla battle at the end of the film, it's just them two before Batra comes in. Godzilla, again, he should be bigger in comparison to Mothra. And in my opinion, the 25 centimeter 92 Godzilla doesn't pair well with Mothra. That is one of the other reasons why I'm probably going to use the Space Godzilla setup on my shelves moving forward. Quite frankly, even though they do look great together, but in my opinion, I think the 25 centimeter is still too small for Mothra. Again, had this been in the Showa period, it could work, but with it being in the Heisei period, I really don't think it works, in my opinion. But I still think this is a cool comparison, a cool shot between all three monsters, especially Godzilla and Mothra. And when they eventually do the 25 centimeter Batra, can you imagine having Batra on the right hand side, you know, above Godzilla, while Mothra's on the other side, you know what I'm saying, to recreate the final battle in the film, which is one of the really good things I enjoy about that film, quite frankly. But until that happens, this is a cool setup that you can have on your shelves, even though in my opinion, it's not so accurate, especially with Batra and especially with Mothra, in my opinion. So that's it with the size comparisons that I'm going to put with this video. Again, aside from the size inaccuracies here, this is still a solid representation of the 92 Godzilla, and I think it's one of the best, if not the best. Oh my God, this thing is so amazing. So let's go to the final commentary portion of the video. My final thoughts of the X-Plus 25 centimeter 1992 Godzilla from its appearance from Godzilla vs. Mothra. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the standard edition of the X-Plus 25 centimeter 1992 Godzilla from its appearance from Godzilla vs. Mothra. In my opinion, 10 out of 10. This thing is great. It is amazing. It is so well done. The sculpt is great. The paint job is pristine. It's crisp. It is really cool. Again, in my opinion, this is absolutely the best 92 that they have ever done. Better than the Sakai, better than the original 30 centimeter, quite frankly. This is the best. Oh my God, it is so cool, especially from a design and a film that is not too high on my list, quite frankly. And again, we'll get to that momentarily. This thing really has impressed me. Again, I don't see this thing winning figure of the year because I think Destroyer will take that spot, quite frankly. This is one of the better releases of the year. You know, in the year where we had the gigantic Monster vs. Kong, that was an awesome release. The Favorite Sculptors line Mechagodzilla 74, that is an awesome piece. You know, the upcoming Favorite Sculptors line Godzilla 1974, I'm sure that will be an amazing piece. But you can definitely add this one onto the list of solid 2023 X-Plus figure releases. And it is so cool, you know what I'm saying? Even as you see here, I had to get the gang all together, Mothra and Batra. Normally around this time of the video, the figure, at least the main focus of the video will be here solo, quite frankly. But it's only appropriate where I had the monsters that he fought in this film, and, with me as I close the video out, whatever. As well as the movie here again, trying to show it some love, even though I haven't done a lot of that in the past, quite frankly. But again, when you have this thing paired up with Mothra and Batra, even though the size, in my opinion, is inaccurate, as I mentioned in the previous size comparison, it is still a cool visual to see Godzilla, Batra, and Mothra in the same shot, whatever. Even if you want to use, like I said, this Godzilla in other scenarios, like I mentioned, I will more likely use the Space Godzilla I'm set up moving forward that you saw earlier with Space Godzilla and Little Godzilla. This Godzilla looks great up against them, quite frankly. But I also recently put this guy up against the 25cm Biollante. They look great together, even though it's not the proper Godzilla to go up against Biollante, but still seeing those two figures together, courtesy of the X-Plus 25cm line, was amazing. I have a 25cm resin chef resin model kit of Mecha King Ghidorah, and Godzilla looks great up against that kit, quite frankly, even though, again, it's not the proper Godzilla. But seeing those two together was a great, awesome visual, you know what I'm saying? Or how about the X-Plus 30cm Rick exclusive edition of the Rodan, or the Fire Rodan from 1993. Again, even though that Godzilla did not appear in 93. Well, it did. Actually, you know what? It did. This suit did appear in 1993. As a matter of fact, it did fight Rodan. It didn't fight the Fire Rodan, but he did fight the first version of Rodan. So go back and watch the film, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 from 1993. And it's kind of hard to spot, but in certain shots, they actually did use the 92 suit when Rodan's attacking him from the sky. So you can kind of get away with it with Fire Rodan, even though technically the 92 Godzilla suit didn't fight Fire Rodan. He fought the original Rodan from 93. But seeing those two figures together, it's a treat, whatever. So whether you have him standing alone or with other figures, whether they were in the film with him or not, it's really, really cool. And another thing I love about this figure, it is so photogenic. Again, the sculpt, the paint job is so pristine on this guy that you can actually take some great photographs of him, full body shots, his head, his teeth, his dorsal plate, just everything about this figure really has impressed me and really surprised me, because I didn't expect it to love it as I did. I love it so much that, again, I had to change my video schedule and I had to put a video out there for it right now. For a figure to do that, especially at first I wasn't feeling this release, I think it's a testament to how awesome this figure is. So if you slept on it, wake up, don't hit that snooze button. Wake up and get online and try and find one right now. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I think he sold out on Hobby Search, but I'm sure he's out there because he just came out, like I said, to collectors, around at the time of this recording, the first or second week of September. So the time is now. If you missed out on a pre-order to get a figure when it first come out, and you may see an extra one floating out there for a relatively good price, Mandarake, eBay, or maybe an Awesome Collector. The time is now to get one if you want one, because you already know once they get out there and once time progresses, he's going to be horribly overpriced like a month from now. So the time is now to get one if you slept on it and you still want to get it. Hopefully I convince y'all to get it. And trust me, if you're a fan of the design as well as the movie and you want to create some cool setup on your hands, some cool Heisei setups on your hands, look no further than this guy right here, the 25cm 92 Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Mothra. Now, let's talk about the film. Do we have to? No, I'm just joking. Now, you know what? You're probably wondering, I know I explained this in the past before, but I haven't really gone into further detail. Why do I don't care for this film, as I know that some people do? For a variety of reasons. Well, for one, to me, this film feels more like a Mothra film than a Godzilla film. Because when you think about this film, Mothra really is the star of the film, even though Godzilla takes top billing. As a matter of fact, I might say something blasphemous, but this is how I truly feel. In my opinion, because you already know, my favorite movie of all time is actually 1964's Mothra vs. Godzilla. And here we are with Godzilla vs. Mothra. And in my opinion, I think they should swap the titles. In my opinion, Mothra vs. Godzilla is a better title for the 92 film, because Mothra is pretty much the star of that film. You know what I'm saying? Mothra, the movie, she gets the most screen time. It caters more to her story. Godzilla is just there, quite frankly. So in my opinion, 92 should be called Mothra vs. Godzilla. And in 1964, it should be called Godzilla vs. Mothra. Because in 1964, Godzilla was the star of that film, despite Mothra being in the getting top billing, if you will. So that's what I would do, quite frankly, because when you think about it, just sit down and think about it. Again, Godzilla is a star in 1964. Mothra is a star in 1992. Just swap the titles and it would make more sense, quite frankly. But that's the key. That's the thing why I don't really care for this film, because it's a retread of a few films that we've seen in the past, whatever. But again, the fact that this film focuses more on Mothra. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Mothra. You know what I'm saying? I don't hate Mothra, or whatever. But there are times where I felt like she was overutilized or she was overexposed. And this is one of the films that kind of does that, you know what I'm saying? Not trying to say that even though a film that features Godzilla in the title that takes top billing, you know what I'm saying, means that the film should be all about Godzilla, because there have been other films in the past that has Godzilla's name in the title, but really the movie is not about Godzilla. Case in point, Godzilla's Revenge, even though Godzilla's name is in the title, that film is more about Ichiro, quite frankly, and Godzilla is just there, quite frankly. Or how about 1973's Godzilla vs. Megalon? We all know Jet Jaguar is the star of that film. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. But still, it is what it is. And here we are in 1992, and Mothra is pretty much the star in this film, even though Godzilla takes top billing. And that's the thing. Godzilla is just there. He feels shoehorned into the plot, whatever. Really, the plot focuses more on Mothra and Batra. Honestly, if they would have done that and just focus the film more so on that, I would have been fine with that. But the fact they shoehorn in Godzilla is like Godzilla's there too, and he just pops up randomly. It's like there's no real reason why Godzilla is there, and I think that's the reason why I don't really care for this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some great moments in this movie, you know what I'm saying? Godzilla being there was a plus. I like the updated song from Mothra. The Cosmos were really, really good. Even the three-way battle at the end with Godzilla, Mothra, and Batra, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's like a three-way dance, and you don't know what's going to happen because all the monsters are going after each other. But at the very end, when Mothra and Batra deem that Godzilla is a bigger threat and they team up to fight Godzilla, again, that's what they should have done in the beginning of the film. They should have established Godzilla more so as a threat, as the monster need to be stopped, because that's what happened in the three films prior to this film. That was the whole point of the Heisei series. Godzilla was public enemy number one, but in this film, with the inclusion of Batra, you didn't know who was going to be the heavy hitter or the heavy bad guy. It's like the tone was kind of like mismatched. They didn't know what they were going to do. And the fact they shoehorned in Godzilla, at certain points in the film, those are the reasons why this film really falls low on my list. But at the same time, just because it's not high on my list, it's obviously high on a lot of people's lists, because this was the film that made the most money in the Heisei series. Even though, in my opinion, there are films that are better in terms of artistic point of view. I think 85 is better, Biollante is better, King Ghidorah is better, Destroyer is better. But out of all of them, Mothra was the one that made the most money, so it did something right. So even though, again, I don't particularly care for the film per se, doesn't mean, I've always said this, does not mean that I should deny or you should deny awesome collectibles or figures from that film, because you might be missing out. And I know that speaks volumes, because I know a lot of people slept on this figure. They didn't want this figure. But hopefully I have convinced y'all to get your butt online to get this figure right now, because in my opinion, it is absolutely amazing. Sculpt-wise, paint job-wise, again, flanked with the other monsters here, even though the size is not appropriate or perfect, but it's still cool for what it is. And I think this is one of the most solid releases of this year of X-Plus from 2023, and there's no question about that. Yes. So that pretty much concludes my review of the X-Plus 25cm standard edition of the 1992 Godzilla from its appearance from the fourth Heisei film, Godzilla vs. Mothra. If you have any questions, comment down in the comment section. Hit me on Facebook via Let's Be Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, once again, I am so sorry that I know y'all were expecting something gigantic size or something unique from 1975 or 2001 in this video, but I had to pivot because this thing was so amazing. And again, for a figure to do that, for me, had to change everything, on the fly. Because again, I got this figure pretty much yesterday at the time of this recording. But this figure impressed me so much that I had to rearrange some things. So I had to get my love and praise for this thing out there for those people who did miss out on that. And for those people who did pre-order it and it's, and you're still waiting for its arrival, you will love it when it arrives, because this thing is amazing. And in my opinion, like I said, the absolute best 92 figure that X-Plus has ever done. And as I said earlier, it is definitely one of the best Heisei figures of Godzilla himself that they have ever done, alongside the gigantic 89 and 95, Sakai 91, Sakai 84. I can definitely say that this guy is in the conversation, and you'll be well worth your while to go after it Yes, yes, yes. Now, in the next video, again, I will get to that review of the 1975 or 2001 Gigantic, but again, you have to wait and see which one I would choose. But I think either way, you will love it. Yes, yes, yes. So this thing is amazing and it's awesome and a bag of chips. So ladies and gentlemen, I finally give to you the X-Plus 25 centimeter 1992 Godzilla from its epic appearance from Godzilla vs. Mothra. Yes, yes, yes. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this figure move review. All right, y'all take it easy.